everything is live. It says that it's live. Okay, we're good. Okay. So yeah, we started a heat wave yesterday, and that's going to continue. So a heat wave by like the technical terms that I've always used, but I think that for some people it's just different. But 3 days in a row of temperatures at or above 90 degrees. So we did that yesterday. We hit 90. Today we'll have no problem making it to 90, and then we'll do it again tomorrow. Then we actually see a pretty big cool down, all things considered, by Wednesday with a cold front moving through. So right now on local radar, not showing much. Notice that we have this kind of cluster of storms across northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, but it's really weakening. Notice how it has a ton of lightning near Chicago, and then it just loses all of that lightning. So that's weakening. It's expected to kind of swoop southeast and miss us. So we should be able to stay dry today. But again, heading down to Florida, into Georgia, South Carolina, where they're having some impacts from Debbie still right now. Of course, very heavy rain, lots of strong gusty winds, reports of tornadoes and severe weather there in parts of Florida as well. And that's just going to continue to make its way northeast throughout the day today. So again, it did briefly become a hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane. I think it was like barely a Category 1 hurricane. Either way, though, it did gain that strength. And then, yeah, it had 75 mile per hour winds. So a hurricane has to be 74 miles per hour. So yeah, let me see here. I just want to look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center, keeping it a tropical storm, so it's not going to re-energize. I also want to see, there is still another system out there that's likely to become our 5th named storm of the season sometime in the next week. And actually, I'll show you that next. But let's talk about the track of Debbie. So we're only going to have indirect impacts from Tropical Storm Debbie. It is expected to kind of stay well off to our east, especially the center of that system. It's just going to kind of force anything that's moving east to kind of move slowly. So for us, that means it's just going to keep nice weather over top of us for much of the week. But again, want to mention this because I know a lot of folks vacation to that area. And so we want to make sure that you're aware that you know, not only if you're going there, obviously you're going to encounter some of those storms in the coming days, but also the impacts could be lingering. This is not the radar. This is not what I wanted. Yesterday this was set up differently, but somebody has changed it. But that's weird because I saw it earlier. Well, anyways, I must have the wrong graphic. But the other system that we're watching is this one. Again, not a named system yet, but likely to become a named storm in the next couple of days. So tropics definitely heating up, very typical of this time of year. The longer time that the ocean has to heat up, you know, the more storms it produces, because that's a big fuel maker for, it's a big ingredient that's needed for those storms. So, yeah. All right, back to the local forecast. Temperatures right now in the mid to upper 80s, 87 in Westchester, 85 in Mason, Milford, and Florence at 86 degrees. Dew points in the 70s, and that's when that air becomes really thick. It's very uncomfortable to be outside. So dew points in the 60s and 70s right now, and that makes it feel much warmer. So these are the heat indices right now, or this is, I guess this is the only one I'm showing you for the time being, but I'll expand that. Feels like 91 right now at CVG. Winds are light out of the southwest, so not much to stir that air around. Here are more of the heat indices already well into the 90s for most of us. Feels like 95 in Hamilton, feels like 96 in Lebanon, feels like 90 in Batavia and in Wilmington right now. So very warm, very humid air. No, we only expect indirect impacts from Debbie. And what I mean by that is because this very large system is going to be along the East Coast, it kind of forces any of our weather to stay put. But for us at that point, that's going to be more felt on Wednesday and Thursday. We're already having nice weather, so it's just going to kind of force that. Now, if we had like a cold front that was moving through, Debbie would slow down the progression of that front. So no, we're not going to get any rain from Debbie, that's for sure. So these are the heat indices today. And again, or the next several days, I should say, but we already talked about how today we're already into the 90s. Tomorrow we'll do it again. Tomorrow's another hot and humid day. And then we really see some relief on Wednesday as a cold front moves through. That drops our temperatures and much lower humidity as well. Here is where you will see that chance for storms Tuesday evening. Now the timing of this is rather ideal because what we see is that the storms move in late in the evening when most outdoor activities should be over. Not a lot of folks on the roads. So you're looking at these storms as they move in from the north weakening, but 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. into the early hours of Wednesday morning, but then clearing out by Wednesday afternoon, and that's when the cool down arrives as well. And we're going to look at a wider view of storms and over the coming days. And again, these storms really do weaken as they move from north to south. Even today, that's what we saw on radar a little bit ago. And then tomorrow evening, the stronger storms stay off to our east. But again, Tuesday night, so let's say anywhere from 8 p.m. Tuesday to 8 a.m. Wednesday, we could have storms across the area, but they're going to be scattered and they are not expected to be severe at this time. Now, of course, if that changes, we'll let you know. And you can see, actually, let me pull this up so that you can actually watch the rains of Debbie. Okay. Trying to multitask, which doesn't always go well. Okay, let's widen this. Okay, because really Debbie's so obviously still seeing really what I was going to say there because I didn't finish my sentence. Debbie's really the biggest storm system that we have across the entire country right now, for that matter. So all eyes on Debbie for sure, because there's just not much going on across the entire country, which isn't always a bad thing, especially this time of year when it could be quite the opposite, quite like what we had last week, as a matter of fact. So again, here you're looking at tomorrow morning, still seeing some of those, still seeing that very heavy rain, still in parts of Florida, but starting to depart and move more toward the Carolinas, parts of Georgia. Now, I will say this, and this is not part of the forecast, but I would not be surprised if Debbie does somehow go back out to the ocean, especially the center of the storm, goes back out over those warm waters. It could re-strengthen to a hurricane briefly. Either way, you're still looking at really heavy rain and a lot of winds along parts of the coast in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, even Virginia in the coming days. But here's what happened. So again, I mentioned that if we were having a cold front move through, Debbie would slow that down. Well, once Debbie starts to influence this front, it's already south of our area. This is Wednesday at 5 o'clock in the evening, and you're already seeing that rain pushing off to the south. So it's going to be okay for us. It almost like combines with Debbie, or at least that's what it appears. So it kind of swoops off to the north and east of us. And so again, we don't see major impacts. I mean, again, this is just rain. This is just a model projection of rain, but it's showing basically the center of that hurricane or tropical storm pretty well here on Thursday morning. So I think when these storms kind of ride along the coast, they're still using the fuel from the ocean, those warm ocean waters. So not necessarily a good thing that it's going to just be right along the coastline. You know, it would almost be better if it moved inland and stayed inland. The friction with the ground and the land really weakens a hurricane, but that's not going to happen. It's still going to be feeding off of the warm ocean waters. So we'll definitely be watching this very closely for impacts not only felt here at home, but along the East Coast throughout the rest of the week. Again, for us, no direct impacts. Debbie stays to our east, but also again for us, I know a lot of folks are vacationing down this time of year, whether it be Florida or the Carolinas, Georgia, whatever it may be. So just a good idea to keep an eye on that for everybody. And oftentimes what we see is that we would send crews, you know, maybe we talk about the Ohio Task Force 1, Matthew 25 Ministries, maybe the Red Cross. They might deploy people from our area to those regions. So obviously every time that happens, we let you know. So we'll have to see if that happens as well. As of now, they haven't said anything, but this is kind of too early. They would normally wait until the storm has passed, because just, you know, you don't want a ton of people in that area when the storm is still you know, ravaging the region, and you want to make sure that where you're sending those people from, that area is okay, because sometimes you have to make sure that, you know, for example, if we were to send like the power company and then we ended up having a problem here, then, you know, that's not good. So anyways, just all those types of things, they wait a little bit longer to determine exactly what the needs will be in that area. So my guess is that we will hear in the coming days that some of those organizations are sending crews to that area. Another thing happening today, it's another busy week in the Tri-State. We say that all the time because it's true. The Bengals training camp is happening today. FC Cincinnati is in town today. So training camp forecast, hot and humid. Temperatures will be in the 90s. Excuse me. And it will be dry. Not expecting any rain today, so grab some hydration if you're heading out there to the practice fields across the street from Paycor. FC Cincinnati in town for Leagues Cup, so those temperatures will be in the 90s for the beginning of the game and falling to the 80s by halftime. So at least with an evening game, temperatures are dropping throughout the game. Is Hillsborough supposed to get storm stay? No, those storms should stay just north of Hillsborough. I'll show you the radar here coming up in a bit. And then I'll show you what the model says. Okay, so 7-day forecast. Temperatures remain in the 90s today and tomorrow. That would be 3 days in a row with temperatures in the 90s, so that's a heat wave. And then we start to see those temperatures fall. Again, I'm saying from Tuesday at 8 p.m. until Wednesday at 8 a.m. is when we could have that best chance for storms. And then we dry out, we cool down, much more comfortable air. And one way that you can tell that that air isn't quite as humid is by the overnight lows. So yes, in the daytime, we're still getting up to 87 on Thursday, which is actually a little warmer than normal. But those overnight lows are in the mid 60s. So that's some much less humid air, much less thick air. You know, this morning it was in the 70s. Tomorrow morning will be in the 70s. That's some thick humidity even during the morning hours. So, you know, when you start the day with the muggy air, you know how it's going to end up. Warm and humid. So, okay, let's look at radar because again, that rain is going to be close, but I don't think that we'll have any wet weather for today. Okay. Let me look at this on radar. Okay. So first of all, notice how much this storm system has weakened. When it was in Chicago, there's so much lightning. There's a lot brighter colors, the reds and the oranges on radar, and now much weaker as it moves through northern Indiana into northwest Ohio. But if we kind of follow that track, and actually it might be better if I just draw it on here. If it kind of stays on the same path, it looks like it goes like that. So you're asking about Hillsborough, perhaps even portions of northern Warren County could have maybe a sprinkle, kind of on the edge of this storm system, but that would be all because it is weakening so much as it moves off to the south. So not expecting anything significant. Yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to show you. Huh. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Well, the Pacific Ocean has lots of storms. Let me actually look. Wow. Carlota, Daniel, Amelia, Fabio. Wow. And then, yeah, okay. So 4 storms. And in the Pacific right now. That's nuts. Oh, I wanted to show you the severe risk. That's right. For tomorrow and Wednesday. Let me check. UV index is about a 9 today. Ignore this box. Okay. So this is, oh my gosh. So we share graphics and sometimes people change them. It is frustrating to me. Okay, so this is tomorrow, Tuesday. And then Wednesday we have no threat. So this is only Tuesday. Basically, on Tuesday, as I mentioned, those storms are really weakening as they move to the south. And I was going to say I could. There we go. Okay. So now this is accurate. Oh, shoot. Hold on. There we go. Now that's accurate. So it technically goes from Tuesday morning to Wednesday morning. And I do think our best chance is going to be late Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. So a marginal threat, a 1 on a scale of 1 to 5 for basically the northern half, maybe even northern 2/3 of our viewing area, because it does include our 3 northern Kentucky counties, Boone, Kent, and Campbell County. Parts of all of our Ohio counties and most of our southeastern Indiana counties. This will likely be tweaked as we get closer to tomorrow or Wednesday. But I definitely agree with this because I do think that as those storms move south, and by the way, we have no threat for tornado, damaging wind threat is 5%, no threat for hail right now, or at least severe hail. So we could have some small hail, but so again, marginal threat Tuesday through Wednesday, but I think most of us don't see the severe weather. So I'm gonna keep an eye on this radar though, just in case those storms do, well, showers now, they're not even storms anymore, just in case that rain does get closer to us, because you can see kind of it moving in from the north. But yeah, really, I mean, now I'm on the high resolution radar and it's weakening even quicker than it was on the composite radar. So yeah, I tend to agree with that. Okay. All right, I guess that's all I have for you guys. We will, of course, have more information on Fox 19 Now this afternoon. We're back to our regular schedule. Steve is back today after taking off some time off last week. A little staycation. He did some photography, if you can see on his Facebook page, and hung out with the dogs and that kind of stuff. Went for a very long bike ride yesterday, I know. So he's back. Reds are out of town this week, so but of course we have the preseason game on Saturday, which is a big deal for us, being the flagship station. So we're going to be busy, just in different ways. Hopefully not that busy weather-wise. It seems like it's going to be a pretty quiet week as far as the weather is concerned. So yeah, okay. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow.